I met a stranger who knew too much about my life. I was never the type to drink alone, but that night, I made an exception. It had been a long week, one of those stretches where work, life, and general exhaustion blurred into one endless mess. I walked into this quiet bar near my apartment, just looking for a strong drink and maybe some mindless scrolling on my phone. It was the kind of bar that was dimly lit but not in a trendy way, more like they just hadn't replaced the bulbs in years. A mix of soft jazz and low murmurs filled the space. I took a seat at the far end of the counter, ordered a whiskey neat, and exhaled, trying to decompress. That's when he spoke. "You always order whiskey neat when you're stressed." I turned my head, and there he was, a man in his mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, sharp features. He wasn't dressed weird or anything, just a plain black button-up and jeans, but something about him felt off. I gave a half smile, assuming he was just making conversation. "Yeah, I guess. You also tap your fingers on the counter when you're overthinking something," he added. That's when my fingers froze mid-tap. I turned to face him fully. "Do I know you?" He smiled. "Not exactly." I should have left right there. Something in my gut told me to get up, drop a 20 on the bar, and walk out, but I stayed. "Not exactly," I repeated, trying to keep my tone casual. He took a slow sip of his drink, bourbon, from the smell of it. "Let's just say I know a lot about you." I let out a short laugh, even though my brain was starting to spiral. "Okay, sure, like what?" I expected him to guess something generic, maybe my name, something a random stranger could pick up from social media or overhearing a conversation. Instead, he said, "You had a dog when you were 10, a black lab. You named him Max, even though your mom wanted to name him Shadow." I felt my grip tighten around my glass. "How the hell do you know that?" He shrugged. "I know more than that. I know you cracked your phone screen last week but didn't bother fixing it because you figured it would just happen again soon. I know you've been putting off calling your dad back for 3 days. I know you switched jobs last year and regret it more than you let on." My stomach dropped. This wasn't some random coincidence. This wasn't some bar trick. This guy knew too much. I forced a chuckle, trying to keep my cool. "All right, you're freaking me out a little. Seriously, who are you?" He just smiled, taking another sip of bourbon. "That's not the question you should be asking." I swallowed hard. "Then what should I be asking?" His eyes locked onto mine. "How much do you really want to know?" I should have walked away. That was the thought running in the back of my mind as I sat there, gripping my drink, feeling the ice slowly melt against my fingers. The air in the bar suddenly felt thick, like the walls had closed in just a little. "How much do I really want to know?" I repeated, forcing out a laugh that even I could tell sounded shaky. "That's a weird thing to say, man." The stranger just smirked, swirling the bourbon in his glass. "Most people think they want the truth, but when they get close, they back away." I scoffed. "Right, and you're what, some kind of oracle, a psychic?" His expression didn't change. "Do I seem like a psychic?" No, he didn't. He seemed like an average guy, but that was the problem. There was nothing about him that stood out, no defining features, no accent, no nervous habits. He was too normal, like he had been pulled straight out of a generic background character template. And yet, he knew things no random stranger should. I reached for my phone. Maybe I could look him up, take a photo, do something to figure out who the hell he was. "You won't find anything," he said, watching me. "No name, no social media, nothing." My hand hovered over my phone before I let it drop back onto the counter. I tried a different approach. "All right," I said, turning to face him fully. "You clearly know a lot about me, but I don't know a thing about you. What's your name?" Long pause. Then he smiled. "Call me John." "That your real name?" "No." My stomach twisted again. He downed the rest of his drink in one go and set the empty glass on the counter with a soft clink. "You're trying to rationalize this, running through all the possible explanations in your head." "Damn right I am." I leaned in, lowering my voice. "Is this some kind of prank? Did a friend put you up to this?" He shook his head. "No prank." "Then how?" "I told you," he interrupted. "I just know things." I exhaled sharply, rubbing my temples. "All right, then tell me something else about myself, something no one else would know." His smile faded. For the first time in this whole exchange, his expression shifted into something different. Not amusement, not curiosity. Something closer to pity. I felt my heartbeat pick up. "Never mind," I said quickly, standing up. "I'm done with this." I pulled out my wallet and tossed a 20 onto the bar, but just as I turned to leave, his voice stopped me cold. "You were going to propose 2 years ago, but you never did." My breath hitched. I turned slowly, staring at him. My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a steel band around it. No one knew that. Not my friends, not my family. No one. It had been a quiet, private decision, one I had wrestled with for months before finally letting go of the idea. I had even bought a ring, tucked away in the back of my dresser. And yet, here was this man, sitting across from me, saying it like it was common knowledge. My mouth went dry. "Who the hell are you?" I whispered. John just smiled. And then, without another word, he stood up, patted me on the shoulder, and walked out of the bar. I stood there, frozen, staring at the door long after it had swung shut behind him. I don't remember how long I stood there after he left. The bartender eventually gave me a weird look, probably wondering why I was standing like a statue in the middle of his bar, but I couldn't move. My brain was stuck, like a record caught on a loop, replaying those last words over and over. "You were going to propose 2 years ago, but you never did." I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, that smirk, the way he looked at me like he knew me better than I knew myself. I thought about calling someone, a friend, an ex, even my mom, but what the hell would I even say? "Hey, I met some guy at a bar who somehow knows my entire life story." Thoughts. Yeah, that wasn't happening. By morning, I convinced myself that I was overreacting. I went to work, I pushed through my day, I pretended everything was fine. And then, just as I was leaving the office, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, you're still thinking about me, aren't you?" I stopped dead in my tracks. Street noise around me, honking cars, people talking, the distant wail of a siren faded into nothing. My fingers hovered over my phone. Then, before I could stop myself, I typed back. "Who is this?" A few seconds later, another message popped up. "John." Cold chill ran down my spine. "How did you get my number?" "I told you, I just know things." I clenched my jaw, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. This wasn't normal. This wasn't some funny coincidence. I looked around, scanning the crowd. Was he watching me? Was he following me? I typed again. "Leave me alone." No response. I exhaled, shoving my phone into my pocket, and started walking faster. Maybe it was over. Maybe he was just messing with me, getting one last freaky text in before disappearing for good. But then, an hour later, just as I was stepping into my apartment, another message came through. "You never threw away the ring." I slammed the door shut and locked it. My hands were shaking. I forced myself to breathe, to think rationally. There had to be an explanation for this. He had to be someone I knew, maybe an old friend, a former coworker, someone from college. I wasn't playing his game anymore. I tossed my phone onto the couch, marched to my dresser, and yanked open the bottom drawer. There, buried under some old clothes, was the small black box I hadn't touched in 2 years. I stared at it, my heart hammering in my chest. How the hell did he know? I didn't open the box. I couldn't. I just stood there, staring at it like it was some cursed object, something that would unleash hell if I so much as touched it. My brain was screaming at me to throw it away, burn it, do something, but my body refused to move. How the hell did he know about this? I hadn't even looked at the ring in 2 years. No one else knew I still had it. Even my closest friends assumed I had either returned it or gotten rid of it. John was messing with me. He had to be. But how? I grabbed my phone, my hand still shaking, and typed. "Who the F are you?" Minute passed, no response. I wasn't waiting around. I went straight to my call log, found the unknown number, and hit dial. It rang once, twice, then. Disconnected. I stared at my screen. No voicemail, no automated message, just disconnected. I tried again, same result. I swore under my breath and paced the room. Okay, think logically. He had my number. He knew about the ring. He knew about the proposal I almost went through with. That meant he was someone from my past, maybe someone I had confided in. But I didn't recognize him. And that was the part that scared me the most. I barely slept that night. Every little sound made me jump, creaking floorboards, the hum of the fridge, the occasional car passing outside. I kept checking my phone, expecting another message. Nothing. By morning, I convinced myself that it was over. Maybe I freaked out over nothing. Maybe it was just some elaborate prank, a stupid joke gone too far. I just needed to move on. So I did what any normal person would do. I went about my day, went to work, and did my best to forget about it. And for a while it worked. Until lunchtime. I was sitting at my desk, scrolling through my phone, when I noticed something strange. My phone was still on my home screen. No apps open, no browser running. But the battery was draining fast. It had been at 82% an hour ago. Now it was at 42%. I frowned and tapped my screen, pulling up my battery usage stats. There, at the very top, was an app I didn't recognize. It had no name, no icon, just a blank space where an app should be. My stomach dropped. I clicked on it. The screen flickered. Then my entire phone shut off. I stared at my dead phone, my pulse pounding in my ears. No way. No F***ing way. I had read about spyware before, stalkerware, malware, whatever the hell they call it. Apps that secretly track everything you do, steal your data, even turn on your camera or microphone without you knowing. But I had never seen something like this. No name, no icon, just there. I tried to turn my phone back on. Nothing. Tried again. Still nothing. Okay, deep breaths, think. I grabbed my work laptop and started searching. How to tell if your phone is spyware. Unknown apps draining battery fast. Phone won't turn on after finding suspicious app. The results were all the same. Yeah, it was probably spyware. Either someone installed it on my phone or I downloaded something shady without realizing it. And since my phone just died the second I tried to open it, that probably meant someone didn't want me seeing what was inside. My stomach turned. John. Had to be him. I had no proof, but everything in me screamed that it was connected. The texts, the ring, the way he knew too much, now my phone was acting up, too much of a coincidence. So I did what any paranoid idiot would do. I went straight to the IT guy at work. His name was Ryan. Quiet guy, knew everything about computers but talked like he hated people. Perfect. Hey, I said, holding out my phone. I think I got hacked. Ryan didn't even blink. What'd you click? I don't know, that's the thing. I just found this weird, nameless app draining my battery, and when I clicked it, my phone just shut off. That got his attention. He took my phone, turned it over in his hands, then plugged it into his computer. The screen flickered on for a second, just the charging icon, then went black again. Yeah, he muttered. Could be malware, could also just be a bad update. You root your phone. I blinked. Do I look like the kind of guy who roots his phone? He gave me a flat look. Then it's malware, probably some spyware bulls asterisk. You install any weird apps lately? I shook my head. He sighed. Could be a drive-by download. You open any sketchy emails, click any ads, use free Wi-Fi. Maybe. Ryan sighed harder. Factory reset. What? Factory reset your phone. It's the only way to be sure. Otherwise, you'll never know if something's still tracking you. F asterisk. I hesitated, losing all my apps, my messages, my saved stuff. It felt like overkill. But Ryan was already unplugging my phone and handing it back to me like the conversation was over. Wipe it, he said. Trust me. So I did. That night I sat on my couch, backed up what little I could and wiped my entire phone. Fresh start. Clean slate. If John was spying on me, he just lost his access. And just like that, he was gone. No more texts, no more weird encounters, no more paranoia creeping up my spine every time I glanced at my phone. Days passed, then a week, then 2. Nothing. Maybe I was overthinking all of it. Maybe it really was just spyware, some random hacker trying to steal credit card info or whatever. I told myself I could forget about it. And for a while, I did. Life went back to normal. Or at least it felt normal. For the first time in weeks, I could actually focus at work. No more checking my phone every 5 minutes, no more feeling like someone was breathing down my neck. I got back into my routine, wake up, coffee, emails, meetings, lunch, doom scrolling, more emails, and then home. It was nice. And it wasn't just work. Everything started feeling lighter. I actually went out with friends again, real friends, not randoms in some dimly lit bar. We hit up our usual spots, cheap sushi on Wednesdays, trivia night on Fridays. I even joined them for a Saturday hike, which was a mistake because, as it turns out, sitting at a desk all day does not prepare you for uphill climbs. Jesus, you okay? Mia asked, handing me her water bottle. I waved her off, pretending I wasn't dying. Yeah, just appreciating nature. Mia smirked. That why you look like you're about to throw up? Shut up. She laughed, but it was good-natured. Everything was. I had missed this. The mundane, the normal. I started sleeping better. No more waking up in the middle of the night, heart pounding for no reason. No more checking the locks twice before bed. No more wondering if someone was watching. It was like John had never existed. A month passed, then 2. By then, the whole thing felt like a bad dream. Work was steady, life was good. I even went on a few dates, not serious, just fun. One night, I was out with Mia again, just the 2 of us this time. We grabbed drinks at this tiny rooftop bar, the kind with fairy lights and overpriced cocktails. It was the kind of night that felt like it belonged in a movie, warm air, city lights stretching for miles, and the low hum of laughter and conversation all around us. So, Mia said, stirring her drink, are you ever gonna tell me what the hell was up with you a few months ago? I froze. For a second, I thought about brushing it off, making a joke, changing the subject, anything. But this was Mia. She had been my closest friend for years. She raised an eyebrow. Don't lie. I sighed. It was just weird. There was this guy. Ah, there it is, she grinned. I knew it had to be about a guy. Not like that, I said quickly. This dude, John, just knew things about me, stuff he shouldn't have known, and it got into my head, you know. Mia frowned, like stalker vibes. I thought so at first, I admitted, but then I found this spyware app on my phone and… Her eyes widened. Wait, hold on, what? Yeah, it was draining my battery, totally nameless. My phone shut off when I tried to open it, had to wipe the whole thing clean. Mia set her drink down. And you didn't think to tell me this before. I rubbed the back of my neck. I figured it was over. I mean, nothing happened since. No weird messages, no random encounters, nothing. It's been months. She didn't look convinced. Still, that's… It's fine, I cut in. Seriously, I'm good, life's good. Mia studied me for a moment, then sighed. All right, but if that creep ever shows up again, you better tell me. I laughed, deal. And that was the end of it. For real this time. Right. It started small. So small that I almost didn't notice. Like how my phone would randomly be at 5% battery, even though I barely used it that day. Or how certain emails in my inbox were marked as read when I knew I hadn't opened them yet. Or how Spotify kept shuffling to songs I hadn't added to my playlists. Weird, right? But nothing that screamed danger, just little things. I chalked it up to software glitches, maybe me just being forgetful. After all, work had been stressful lately, and my brain felt like it was running on autopilot half the time. But then the deja vu started. I'd be talking to someone, Mia, my coworkers, even a barista, and they'd say something that felt eerily familiar. Like word for word familiar. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Then, one day at work, I was in the middle of a conversation with my manager when he made a joke. Something about how I practically lived at the office, which was fair because, honestly, I kinda did. I laughed, brushed it off, until I got home that night and saw an old text from Mia. Dude, do you ever leave your office or should I start forwarding your mail there? It wasn't just the same idea. It was the exact same sentence. And the more I paid attention, the more it happened. At the grocery store, a stranger offhandedly mentioned that avocados were just overpriced butter with commitment issues. I swear I had heard the same joke before, but I couldn't place where. A guy at the gym commented that my shoelaces were untied in the same casual but weirdly specific way Mia had said it 2 weeks ago. It wasn't just conversations, it was people. A woman on the subway had the same laugh as my old neighbor. A bartender at a place I had never been to looked at me like we had met before. I even caught a guy at the cafe wearing the exact same outfit as someone I saw earlier that week, down to the scuffed-up sneakers and a hoodie with a tiny rip on the sleeve. And then there was the man outside my apartment building. I first noticed him on a Thursday. He was standing across the street, staring at his phone. Nothing weird about that until I saw him again the next day, and the next, always in the same spot. Not moving, just waiting. I told myself it was paranoia, that I was just on edge because of the whole John situation months ago. But then, on Monday morning, as I stepped out to grab coffee, he looked up and smiled, like he knew me, like he had been waiting for me. And that's when I knew. Something was wrong. I froze. It wasn't just some casual glance. That man, whoever he was, smiled at me like we were old friends, like we had shared inside jokes and swapped embarrassing childhood stories. But I had never seen him before. At least I thought I hadn't. I did what any sane person would do. I turned around and walked the other way, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Was I being paranoid? Maybe, but after everything with John, I wasn't about to take chances. I didn't go to my usual coffee shop. I took a longer route to work. I even checked behind me a few times. No sign of him. By lunchtime, I had almost convinced myself that I overreacted. But then it happened again. At a crosswalk, waiting for the light to change, I felt it, that prickling sensation on the back of my neck like I was being watched. I glanced around casually, not wanting to seem obvious. And there he was. Across the street, hands in his coat pockets, staring right at me. Not in a threatening way. Not even in a creepy way. But in a knowing way. Like I was a puzzle he had already solved. The light turned green. I walked fast, didn't look back. I spent the rest of the day trying to focus on work, but my mind kept spinning. Who was this guy? Was it just a coincidence? Had I seen him before and just forgotten? By the time I got home, I was exhausted. I locked my door, double-checked it, and finally let myself breathe. Then my phone buzzed. A text. From an unknown number. You look different when you're scared. I dropped my phone. Because this wasn't paranoia. This wasn't a coincidence. Someone was watching me. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound made my heart race. The hum of the fridge, suspicious. The creak of the building settling, terrifying. The wind against my window, clearly an axe murderer trying to get in. But nothing happened. No knocks at my door, no more texts, no sign of him. I'm mourning. I was convinced I had two choices. Call the police. Pretend this never happened and hope for the best. I went with option 2. Yeah, I know. Horror movie logic. But I was running on zero sleep and way too much anxiety. I changed my routine again. No more coffee shop. No more predictable routes. I even started taking Ubers instead of walking. Days passed. Then a week. Nothing. No texts, no sightings, no weird feelings. Whoever he was, John or someone worse, he was gone. For a while, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe he was still watching. Maybe he was waiting for me to let my guard down. But time passed, and eventually I stopped checking over my shoulder every 5 minutes. Was he ever real? Was he just some weirdo messing with me? I don't know. And honestly, I don't want to know. All I know is that I haven't seen him since. And I never want to again.